We begin in China, where authorities are changing a controversial policy on childbirth in the face of a population shift. The country is aging and its workforce is shrinking. So now, married couples will be allowed to have 3 kids. The state-run Xinhua news agency said the Chinese Communist Party announced the policy shift on Monday at a Politburo meeting. For decades, China used its one-child policy to curb rapid population growth. It raised the limit to 2 children 5 years ago. But the change has not fully addressed the issue of a shrinking workforce and graying society. China's latest census data shows nearly 1 in every 5 residents is 60 or older, and that age group is growing. The Politburo reportedly said this new policy should help address this while ensuring the major economic power has human resource advantages. China's labor force now makes up about 63% of its total population, a 7-point drop from a decade prior. The Global Times, which is an outlet affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party, says the world's most populous country could start to shrink as early as next year. Turning now to the coronavirus situation here in Japan, where the current state of emergency has been extended in 9 prefectures, including Tokyo and Osaka. The northern prefecture of Hokkaido confirmed 279 new infections on Monday. That's the highest number reported in any prefecture, even more than the figure in Tokyo. Hokkaido also reported 19 deaths, its most ever for a single day. Okinawa Prefecture in the south confirmed 142 new cases. It's reported more than 100 for 14 days in a row.
The situation in Okinawa is dire more than a week into the state of emergency. Infections keep spreading as variants replace the original strain.
Health authorities across Japan confirmed nearly 1,800 new cases on Monday and 80 deaths. Japan is making further efforts to speed up its vaccination program. So far, it's inoculating people over the age of 65. A central strategy has been opening large-scale sites, the latest being a Kobe football stadium. Eventually, officials hope to vaccinate 5,000 people every day.
It went very smoothly, and the shot was over very fast.
Elsewhere, large-scale venues are widening eligibility. At this location, any senior in Tokyo or 3 neighboring prefectures can now book a shot.
I have grandchildren, so it's good to be vaccinated early.
Osaka's site has begun welcoming bookings from across the prefecture. The Defense Ministry runs the centers with the help of medical workers from the private sector. They can now give out up to 10,000 shots a day in Tokyo and 5,000 in Osaka. While the rollout is still limited to seniors and healthcare workers, Japan has now officially approved the Pfizer vaccine for people as young as 12. The Health Ministry made the decision after reviewing data from clinical trials in the United States. The ministry says parental consent will be required for children under 16. The government has also decided to subject Vietnam and Malaysia to tighter entry measures due to the spread of coronavirus variants there. People coming from those countries will have to stay at government-designated accommodations for 6 days upon arrival. The government plans to start the measure on Friday. Now, with less than 8 weeks to go to the Tokyo Olympics and Paralympics, the host city remains under a coronavirus state of emergency and is battling negative publicity at home and abroad. But organizers have gotten some good news. The first group of foreign athletes is on its way. Australia's softball team seems excited to get back to the field more than a year after their last match. Still, the head of the country's Olympic delegation says the athletes know this experience will be far from normal.
We know that there's an enormous amount of effort from the Japanese government all the way down through every level of government to make sure that the environment we move into is appropriate to run the games.
Well, the team will be training at a camp just north of the capital under a slew of new restrictions. In this next report, we take a look at what players can expect, and it's far from red carpet treatment.
The last time softball was an Olympic sport, Australia lost a nail-biter to eventual champions Japan. That was 13 years ago in Beijing. In a few weeks, they'll get another shot, and to prepare for it, they'll be training in the city of Ota in Gunma Prefecture. 23 players and a handful of staff make up the first foreign Olympic contingent to land in Japan. They're all fully vaccinated against the coronavirus, but they'll have to take PCR tests every day of their stay in Japan. Here's where they'll be staying. 3 floors of the hotel have been roped off exclusively for the Australian team to ensure minimal contact with other guests. The athletes will have their own common use space for dining and training and will be asked to avoid visiting any other floors. They'll have to enter and leave via the hotel's back door. In fact, they'll be asked to refrain from leaving the hotel at all, except to visit the ballpark for practice. City officials will buy daily necessities for them. On the streets of Ota, there is a mix of enthusiasm and concern.
They must be taking anti-infection measures, so I think hosting the team is a good thing.
I hope they can get to know the charm of the city.
Well, at a time like this, you can't help but worry.
Ota officials originally wanted to hold a welcome ceremony, but that won't happen now. Instead, they may get the chance to talk with local children via the internet. The mayor of the city says half the point of hosting athletes is the opportunity to interact with them, but he still believes it will be a meaningful experience.
I want to embrace and continue the relationship between Australia and Ota City. If we can host the team without problems, it can be proof that other municipalities can do the same.
Ota is one of 528 municipalities that originally signed up to host Olympic delegations. As of 2 weeks ago, 54 of them had either canceled or been told the teams were no longer coming. The others will be keeping a close eye on what happens in Gunma.
Now to China, where the southern city of Guangzhou is on high alert after a resurgence of coronavirus cases. Many of them are believed to be the variant first detected in India. Local health authorities say they confirmed the first new cases in the city since last December on May 21st. People who had close contact with carriers later tested positive. They also say about 2.2 million residents have received emergency PCR tests. 18 were found infected on Sunday. The authorities plan to test over wider areas. They've already temporarily closed junior and senior high schools. Bus operations have also been suspended in the district where the first case was found. Now, people going out of the city on public transport from Monday evening will be asked to present proof they've tested negative within 3 days of departure. China has reacted sharply to Japan's indication it may offer coronavirus vaccines to Taiwan. It comes after Japan's foreign minister said last week the government is considering providing its extra supply to other countries and regions, including Taiwan.
We strongly condemn Japan's political shows in the name of anti-infection measures and interfering with China's internal affairs.
Wang said Japan cannot even guarantee its own people enough vaccines at the moment. He said the media and many people, including those in Taiwan, had doubts about the offer. Last week, Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen said China had blocked Taiwan's deal with a foreign vaccine maker. Wang noted Beijing has made the utmost effort to help Taiwan. He added Taiwan's ruling Democratic Progressive Party was discouraging the use of vaccines made in China. Japan's government is moving forward with plans to dilute treated water from the crippled Fukushima nuclear plant and release it into the ocean. The plan has prompted intense criticism, which officials hope to address. The government's working group held its first meeting with locals to hear about their concerns.
We're asking the government to take the lead in implementing powerful measures that enable the entire fishery industry in Fukushima to trade its marine products at appropriate prices and allow for a stable business.
Water has been accumulating at the plant since it was devastated by a tsunami 10 years ago. The water cools molten nuclear fuel and mixes with groundwater. The treatment process removes most radioactive material, but it still contains tritium. To address this, Japan says the water will be diluted, so the concentration of the radioactive element is well below national and global standards. But local leaders say they're still worried, and they want the government to do whatever it takes to minimize the damage to their reputations. The head of the Farmers Union complained the decision to release the water was made unilaterally without a deep understanding of this issue.
I think the trust between the central government, the power company, and local people has been completely lost. The government should take that seriously.
Government officials say they are and will work to protect businesses. They plan to begin releasing the water in about 2 years. Next in weather, rare snow hit Toronto over the weekend. Our meteorologist Jonathan Oh explains the situation in our World Weather Report.
Hello, we are about to roll into June, but when it comes to the weather this past weekend in Toronto, it looked more like March as we had some colder temperatures and some snow to talk about. Here's a look at some of the video to show you how things looked as we went over the past weekend. Now, we're talking about people having to bundle up in thicker coats with the dusting of snow coating the grassy areas in the city Saturday. Morning low 4 degrees Celsius. Daytime high only 15. That's 4 degrees colder than the average for this time of year. But in the contrast, the city had the 5th warmest May day on record last week. Temperature 33 degrees. So yeah, that's a real drop off in terms of temperatures. We do have some showers likely crossing over into Ontario, but the real focal point when it comes to precipitation will be down toward the southern areas of the United States. A low pressure system that's been really the big driver of strong to severe thunderstorms, and we're looking at more activity with that as we go forward in time, with very hot weather back toward the west here. Some areas in places like Las Vegas and Phoenix later on this week, midweek, talk about highs in the upper 30s to 40s, so be on the lookout for that. Tuesday, looking at thunderstorms into Houston with that 29, 21 in Oklahoma City, and 20 in Denver as we go through the day. It was a warm day across Japan. We had some showers rolling through with some thunderstorms over into the northern areas of the Kanto region, but we will be dealing with another dry day across the country for Tuesday. But we do have a system coming out from China that's going to be rolling through, and that's going to change things up as we go through the middle of the week, so be on the lookout for that. But we're talking about temperatures that are going to be seasonally warm, and so hopefully you'll be able to enjoy some of that. High of 24 in Tokyo with partly cloudy skies coming up on Tuesday. 19 in Sapporo, 20 in Naha, and 30 in Fukuoka with sunny weather. We broaden out the view, showing you the shower still develops back toward the west, with Beijing seeing thunderstorms with a high of 29 on Tuesday. That's your forecast. Hope you have a good day wherever you are.
Haiti is tense a day after violent anti-government protests shook the capital, Port-au-Prince. In Afghanistan, officials say at least 7 people are dead after a suicide bombing in Kabul. The attacker targeted a group of United States military vehicles. A South Korean newspaper reports that North Korea executed officials who helped set up the second meeting between North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and U.S. President Donald Trump. And the United States is giving Mexico 10 days to stop illegal migrants from heading to the U.S. border, or the country will face tariffs on all of its products.
China has told parents they can now have 3 children as the country tries to stem a steep decline in the number of babies being born. Critics point to the high cost of raising children as a major problem. Japanese tennis player Naomi Osaka has withdrawn from the French Open. It follows her decision to boycott post-match media duties at the Grand Slam tournament. She had been fined $15,000 by the organisers. The U.S. city of Tulsa is marking 100 years since the killing of up to 300 black people, the worst single act of racial violence in America's history. And centrist Israeli politician Yair Lapid says many obstacles remain before the formation of a unity government to end the long-running premiership of Benjamin Netanyahu. He's in negotiations with the nationalist Naftali Bennett. And they're your headlines.